A genuine tale of betrayal. As I was immersed in my thoughts, my younger brother burst into the room. What would you do if you longed for intimacy and decided to quench the fire? Yet the moment your younger brother barged into your room and caught you in the act, you now face the revelation of what I did. My name is Isabella. Youth embraces me at 22 years old. All this happened just a couple of weeks ago when I returned home for a well-deserved winter break. For context, I hadn't been home in over 2 years, as I had been immersed in my studies on a distant continent. But in the end, the stars aligned. I treated myself to a passport. The experience was truly exhilarating with my parents. Just the thrill of coming home after such a long absence. And then, James made his entrance. James, my younger brother. We came into the world at the same time. So, we've always been by each other's side. He was slightly younger than me. A young man from the world of crime? No, just a young man drowning in boredom. He became my shadow during our youth. Always nearby.
But now?
Oh man. When he crossed the threshold, I barely recognized him. The indifferent boy had vanished. A reserved young man, standing about 6 feet tall. A detached young man wrapped in a quiet, self-assured calm. He looked like he'd stepped out of one of those glossy Instagram posts, bathed in some ethereal light. Dressed in a black tiger print shirt, I hugged him tenderly, and I could feel the firm muscles of his back.
It was astonishing.
You've grown, I told him. I've been working out, he replied, amused. He laughed, rolling his shoulders.
Yeah.
It happens. It wasn't just his appearance. He was mesmerizing. I wasn't sure if it was the jet lag or just him, but he caught me off guard at an unexpected moment. Throughout the remaining evening, I kept getting lost in his gaze, noticing subtle details that had once been foreign to me. His laughter resonated with unmatched depth. His eyes radiated serene calm. It felt like discovering a new person. And yet, I'd known him my entire life. All right, let me cut to the chase. The first night back. After all the hugs. After arriving. After burying my face in my mother's famous lasagna. I was completely drained. Traveling for over 18 hours, dealing with delays and turbulence, had sucked every drop of energy from me. So, once everyone finally said their goodnights, I headed to the bathroom for a shower and then found myself in my old room. Now, here's the thing. My old room remained untouched, exactly as I'd left it. My parents had converted part of it into a cozy guest room, but they'd kept all my posters. My shelf filled with captivating YA novels. Even some of my old school supplies. It was like stepping into a time capsule. Nostalgia hit me hard. But honestly, all I wanted was to collapse onto the bed and let the world fade away. So, I took a shower, letting the hot water wash away the exhaustion of the flight. It was amazing. The first real moment of peace I'd had in weeks. Afterward, I slipped into an oversized t-shirt, turned off the lights, and stepped barefoot out of the sanctuary of my room. It was great, comfortable, and so quiet. The kind of silence only your childhood home can offer. Now, I'm not sure if it was the jet lag, the mounting stress of school, or maybe just the way James had re-entered my life.
But yeah.
That's how it started. As I lay there in the dim light, my mind began to wander. And, to be completely honest, it had been a long time since I'd experienced any kind of intimacy. Like an eternity between school, work, and life in general. Alone, I hadn't found the time or, frankly, the energy to foster that kind of connection. So I thought, why not take a moment for myself? I mean, I was alone. The house was dead silent. And it felt like the perfect time to unwind. I closed my eyes and let my hands roam freely, gliding gently over my skin to start. The sensation was delicate, soothing, like a way to reconnect with myself. My fingers, like teeth, grazed my lips, then my neck, and a warmth spread through me. But then, my thoughts betrayed me in a way I still don't understand. Jason's image flashed in my mind. It didn't unfold the way I imagined. But there he was. His sharp jawline. His slightly tousled hair. That quiet confidence he carried now. A heat settled in my chest, then lower. whispering inside me like a flickering flame. I tried to push it away, told myself it was just my mind playing tricks, because I hadn't seen him in so many years. But the thought lingered, and the more I fought it, the stronger it became. I kept picturing him in my head. The more different he seemed now, the richer his laughter sounded. I imagined the way he'd hugged me earlier. The more intense it became under my touch. And before I knew it, I stopped resisting the current of my thoughts. I let it carry me. My fingers trailed downward, letting myself sink into the growing warmth. My breath began to
change. Shallow. Quick.
The moment deepened. The room grew even quieter, like the entire universe had faded, leaving only me in this vast emptiness, and this deep, swelling feeling inside. And then, suddenly, he was back in my thoughts. Jason. This time, I didn't try to stop it. I pictured his hands. Firm.
Sure.
Moving against my skin. His voice, low and captivating.
Deep.
Rough. Saying my name. It felt so real. Like he was right beside me. I couldn't help but surrender to the fantasy. My body responded instantly. The way my teeth caught my lip. The arch of my back. Every movement fluid. Everything pulsed with electric energy. Every fiber of me burned. And the warmth I'd felt earlier became something impossible to ignore. It was this perfect blend of comfort and thrill. Like I was experiencing something entirely new, yet familiar. And let me say, it wasn't just physical. There was an emotional intensity, too. Maybe it was just that James had been such a constant in my life growing up. Or maybe it was the shock of seeing him again after so long, looking and acting like a completely different person. Whatever it was, it felt powerful. I gave in completely, surrendered to the moment. My hands moved with renewed confidence. My breath grew heavier. The image of James in my mind sharpened. His hands resting on my hips. His lips brushing my ear. This is wrong. Of course. I mean, this was Jason. The boy I'd carried on my back when he was 14. But that only made it more thrilling. It felt forbidden. Yet at the same time, it was an irresistible pull. The memory of his laugh. The way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. Everything shifted so fast before my eyes. But now it was tangled with this new attraction I didn't know how to handle. The dimness of the room wrapped around me. The only light came from the street lamp glow outside my window. The air felt thick, almost burning, as I let my thoughts sink deeper. Every touch resonated. Every thought made my heart pound harder. But just as I was completely lost in it, something inside me faltered. A faint voice in the back of my mind screamed, "What are you doing?" This is Jason. It was like a splash of cold water. And for a fleeting second, I stopped. I opened my eyes, staring at the ceiling, trying to untangle the emotions crashing over me. But then, just as quickly as the doubt came, it vanished. I convinced myself it was just a fantasy, just a way to unwind after a long day. No harm, no foul, right? So I closed my eyes again, sinking back into that enveloping heat. In the charged air, my fingers moved with purpose, and I let the fantasy take over completely. This time, there was no hesitation, only the sound of my breathing, the softness of the sheets, and the image of James painted vividly in my mind. I pictured every detail, the way his hands would feel, broad and warm, yet gentle in the way they'd grip. I thought of his voice, low and rough, saying my name in a way that would send shivers down my spine. And those eyes.
God.
I couldn't shake the thought. A mix of mischief and calm. Like he always had a secret he wasn't telling. And that's how it happened. It felt transgressive. Like crossing some invisible line. But that only made it more intense. My body was perfectly in tune with the moment. My breathing grew ragged. And I was so close to, well, you know. And then it happened. Out of nowhere. My bedroom door swung open. Like, no knock. No warning. Just the bang of it hitting the wall. Tiffany. Jason's voice cut through the air like a shockwave. I froze. Like I'd been plunged into ice. Every muscle in me locked up. My mind blinked. and I was just there,
Stuck.
like a deer in headlights. And Jason, oh my God, he was just standing there. His eyes widened in palpable disbelief as he processed what he was seeing. The silence stretched. I could see the exact moment his brain caught up. His gaze flickered away. His face turned crimson. And he just stood there, frozen. He didn't even try to look away. He was just staring. His lips parted slightly, like his entire system had short-circuited.
And me?
I was still just there, motionless, like an idiot, completely exposed. Not physically, but emotionally, which somehow hurt even more. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. It was like my brain refused to accept what was happening. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, thoughts started trickling back. Jason, what the hell? The words tore out of me. My voice came out sharper than I meant. He flinched, blinking rapidly. I didn't know you never lock your door, he stammered. I grabbed the nearest blanket, yanking it over myself. Even fully covered, my heart was hammering. And not in the good way. Jason's face was still a deep, burning red. But then, he smirked. That little shit actually smirked. And I swear, I wanted to strangle him. Maybe put a sock on the door or something, he said. Then he was gone. Hands raised like he was surrendering. Just, all right, I'm going.
And
Then the little bastard laughed. A full, genuine laugh. Like he hadn't just walked in on the most mortifying moment of my life. He shut the door behind him, and I could hear him jogging down the stairs, still laughing to himself. I was left there, alone, utterly horrified. My face was on fire. My heart wouldn't calm down. And I wanted to sink into a hole and never come out. But later, this is the part that got me, though. I realized something.
and I'm not even sure about it.
But it hit me in a way I didn't expect. Because as I sat there, replaying what had just happened, I couldn't stop thinking about the look on his face. That moment he froze. His eyes wide. His mouth open. It was seared into my memory like a brand. And instead of feeling just humiliation, I felt something else. Something strange. Like he'd seen me. Not just physically, but in that moment of vulnerability. Really seen me. And, as much as I hated to admit it, that changed something even deeper in me. The embarrassment was still there, of course. But it was tangled with this electric thrill I couldn't shake. My mind kept going back to him, standing in the doorway. The way his expression shifted from shock to amusement. It was like the tension between us had reached a boiling point. And now there was no going back. I tried to undo it, to focus on something tangible. But it was useless. The image of him there was burned into my mind. And every time I thought about it, that spark turned into a full-blown fire. I spent the next few hours pacing my room, trying to calm down and make sense of what I was feeling. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something had shifted. This wasn't just attraction anymore. It was him, Jason, the boy I'd grown up with, the person who used to annoy me with his antics. The one I hadn't seen in years. I couldn't deny it anymore. I wanted him. And not just in some abstract, fantasy way. I wanted him. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Like, nothing else mattered. The embarrassment wasn't even my main concern anymore. Jason, though? He was completely unfazed. Acting like nothing had happened. Laughing and joking at the breakfast table. Scrolling through his phone. While my mom excitedly talked about a new recipe she wanted to try. It was like none of it had even touched him. Meanwhile, I was a mess. I could barely look at him. I felt like I'd spontaneously combust. Most of the day was spent avoiding him. Not easy in a house this small. I helped my mom with laundry. Got caught up on some emails. Tried to lose myself in a book I'd been meaning to finish. But nothing worked. My mind kept circling back to him. Then, later in the evening, my dad called me into the living room. He and my mom were